When I see this picture, I think about the day I was told about my dad's arrest. This was the picture that all my friends saw. This was the image that was used in the news.
Not only did Jesperson confess to the murder, but he led authorities to the scene of the crime and produced new evidence.
I used to have this recurring nightmare that I'm in a body bag and my dad's zipping me up, that I'm alive. And I wake up and I remember who my dad is. And I remember the victims. I think about the terror they must have felt the moment that they knew that they weren't going to live anymore. I think about what that must have been like to know you're going to die and that this is your last moment. If you were to tell me the date, 1995, I would tell you it was hell. My parents together were amazing. My dad was a long-haul truck driver. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. It was like a Norman Rockwell painting. My dad was charming and good-looking and playful.
You just call mood moves. Oh, boy.
That's how I remembered my dad. After my father was arrested, people would say, "How do you not know about your dad?" And that he's capable of this. This is how I saw my dad. This was the version I saw of him. As a little girl, I had no idea that in just a couple of years that my life would be completely different. It's hard to believe that I ever felt so great, that I felt so safe. When my dad was home, all three of us kids would jump on him. And because he was so big, we would take turns trying to tackle him. We just thought it was fun, just to roughhouse with him. But he would take anything fun and then make it into a power game. He would take my hands and shove them back on the bed. And then he would not stop tickling me. I would tell him, "Stop, stop, stop. I can't take it." And he would really pin me down hard. And it wasn't fun anymore.
Daddy, stop! Stop tickling me!
And he wouldn't stop. He seemed to enjoy it. He was really intent. He was really focused on what he was doing. And it was almost like he didn't even hear me screaming. I'm powerless to stop him. Even when I begged and pleaded for him to stop, he didn't care. My dad knew what I was afraid of, and he would use it against me. My dad liked to take us out into the woods and go hiking. He had some favorite trails that he would take us on. And this one particular trail, there's his bridge. And I was terrified of heights.
Keep on.
I remember as I started to cross it, my dad was behind me. And when I got to the center of the bridge,
Hey, Melissa.
What?
he picked me up and he dangled me over the bridge. Like he could just drop me. And I said, "Dad, I'm scared, I'm scared." So I would be screaming for him to put me down, Dad, put me down. And he would just be laughing. He saw me in fear and it seemed to give him a sense of control over me. He enjoyed me screaming and being terrified. When he was satisfied that I was afraid enough, he put me back down on the bridge. And I bolted and ran to the other side of the bridge. The next time we went to that bridge, I just ran as fast as I could so he couldn't catch me and scare me again. Oh my gosh. dad just loved kittens. You could tell I'm clinging on extra tight. I didn't want the cat to leave my sight. I know my dad didn't take this picture because I would have never been able to hold a cat like that in front of my dad. All of these feral animals would come onto our property, mostly cats and stray dogs. And I wanted to mother them, but my dad made it really clear about what animals he liked and disliked. He loved dogs. He purely hated cats. There was this one time he had just gotten home from being out on the road, and I found these little kittens, and I was petting them and playing with them. And then my dad approached me, and he said, what do you have there?
It's a kitty.
And then he's like, I want to play with them. And so he grabbed one of them.
Daddy, please stop.
Hey there.
Daddy, stop.
And I remember he held it up like this, and he was looking at it and playing with it. And then he just like grabbed the tail, and then he started dangling it like this in front of me. And that's when I ran into the house to grab my mom. I couldn't find her right away. And it felt like forever. When I came back out, my only memory after that is just seeing that they were dead on the ground. The way that they were laying, it looked like he had smashed them on the ground. I'm so devastated. I'm just hearing them in the background, and my dad acting like nothing had happened. I just wish I could forget these things. They just don't go away. It's been over 20 years, and it changed me so much that I can't be around cats. When I see a cat and I start petting a cat, I go back there. I'm sorry. We can't forget those kind of things,
It's a good thing we passed by when we did. Gotta be careful. 'Cause you never know what some man might want to do.
I could see her eyes, and they're looking more frightened. She definitely looked like she was afraid for her life. I'm often asked, are you worried about your DNA? Are you worried that you're just like your dad? And I was for a long time because I had a lot of traits like my father. And that scared me. I mean, they're positive traits, but nevertheless, it's still scary to know I'm like my dad when he was capable of doing the things that he did. His behavior towards women started early. I had this babysitter that loved watching me and adored me. What is that?
It's fire!
She wasn't like other babysitters that turn on the TV and just talk on the phone. She actually would play with me, and that was really special.
Woohoo! Wait, ready?
Hey guys. Time to go.
Come on.
It's time to go.
I'll see you next time, okay?
Okay.
One night, my dad drove her home, and she called my mom and told her that she never wants to come to our house again. And when he came home, my mom was really angry with him.
Keith, what in the hell did you do?
And he continued to walk down the hallway towards their bedroom. And I remember watching my mom follow him and slam the door. And I just waited and listened.
You stay here.
I remember my babysitter never showed up again, and I would ask my mom what happened to her, and she just said that she had school, she's busy with school. Later, I would learn that he had made advances towards her, and And not just advances, but he tried to assault her. My dad started to change after the divorce. He seemed emotionally distant, like his mind was somewhere else. There's definitely something off. I remember one time we're at the diner and the waitress comes up.
Just wanted to check in. How is everything?
Much better now that you're here.
My dad starts to flirt with her. At first, just a little teasing banter.
Just give me a wave if you need something.
I know what I need.
And then he starts to get more vulgar and explicit. It has something to do with her panties.
Then why don't you just sit over here and let me get a feel?
Daddy, stop. You're making her uncomfortable.
It was so explicit that the waitress would look at us and be mortified for us, as we were mortified for her.
I can just imagine what we could do together.
My sister, my brother, and I are sitting at the table, completely appalled, completely disgusted, and embarrassed. He has a smile on his face. We thought maybe Dad doesn't know he's being so inappropriate. I thought maybe he's just oblivious to social graces. I mean, that's how I justified it. It became such a regular event that every time we went to a restaurant, this would occur, and he would just laugh at me. He would just like smile at me, like it's no big deal. Things started to shift differently with my dad's interactions with people around us. And one particular incident that I remember is the Jesperson family was having a big Christmas reunion at the cabin in the woods. And we were invited to come and see all of our cousins. And he came to Spokane and he picked all of us kids up and we started to drive. And as we're driving, there on the side of the road was a car that was broken down. And this woman looked in distress.
Hey,
Everything okay?
my car broke down.
You lit?
She looks at us and sees us three kids in the backseat of the car, and she looks like she feels more safe to get in the car with us.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. Thank you.
She says where her address is, and he just makes small chit-chat about us kids. We're going for Christmas.
Is that a natural color?
Excuse me?
And then it just starts to veer off into a place that makes her uncomfortable.
Your hair. Is that your natural color?
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful. Real instant turn on.
Thank you.
He starts commenting on her body, what she looks like,
Good thing we came by when we did.
how she's lucky that he came and got her, that there's really bad people out there.
You never know what some men might want to do.
In the rearview mirror, I could see her eyes, and they're looking more frightened. Like, what did I just get myself into? And that she wants to get the hell out of my dad's car. It was really, really quiet in the car. Like, there's a lot of tension. You could just feel this tension in the car. She definitely looked like she was afraid for her life. We arrive at the lady's house.
Looks like this is it.
She couldn't get out of the car fast enough. I really thought my dad just had a major character default. There was just something wrong with him. I was just angry with him. Like, why couldn't he just be polite? Why couldn't he just be normal? And this is my dad next to his semi-truck. This is the truck I remember going into. He would go on the road and then I would not hear from him for days, weeks at a time and wonder how he's doing and what was going on in his life. My dad came for another surprise visit, and he asked to take myself and my siblings out to breakfast, but my sister and my brother had plans. So I remember we started driving, and we took a sharp turn. And as my dad took this sharp turn, this duct tape rolled out. And when I picked it up, a lot of duct tape had been used.
Hey, Dad, what's this?
It's duct tape.
I thought it was strange that there was so much duct tape missing. Like, what would he be using it for? It just struck me as odd. What is this? Is this his truck? Are you kidding me? This photo given to us by the police. Oh my God. Sometimes I think, like, some memories are so bad, and you just hope they're not real. The memories are so old. You start to think it could have just been a nightmare that I just remember details to. It's exactly what I remember seeing. Wow. This is okay. At this point in my relationship with my dad, I really didn't feel that comfortable with him. But he invited us to stay at his house for the summer. The thing about the house that was odd is that it had a really negative vibe. And sometimes I would get scared at night. It was my first night in the house. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was scared, and it felt uncomfortable. It had been a while since I slept in the same house with him, and I think that I just had a sense of uneasiness because I was in his presence the whole time. So I ended up going into the living room, and I laid on the couch. And as I was laying on the couch, I was trying to drift into sleep. And when I was looking up, I started to see that there were stains on the ceiling. I was wondering, like, how did stains get on the ceiling? It looked kind of like a splatter. I thought it was, at first, spaghetti sauce, like dried spaghetti sauce. And then I wondered how spaghetti sauce could be up there. Next morning, I told my dad, you have some stains on the ceiling. He's like, what stains? And I pointed to it, and he looked up, and he was just like, oh, we'll get that cleaned.
It's nothing. I'll have it cleaned.
And it never occurred to me what it really could have been. He would pick us up for the visitations with him, and I remember we started driving. The radio's on, I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and I hear him singing, I swear I left her by the river. I swear I left her safe and sound.
Swear I left her by the river. I swear.
My dad's not one to sing, so I could tell he was really drawn to the song. He looked like he was remembering something as he was singing. And I thought maybe this song had some kind of sentimental value to it. And then when the song ended, he kind of snapped out of this whatever trance he was in.
I could get away with it.
He says, I know how to kill someone and get away with it. And without any further prompting, he says I would cut off the buttons of her jeans so that it wouldn't leave my fingerprints on it. And I would change my shoes so that my sole imprint in the mud would be different.
And I wouldn't get caught.
Caught? Like, he was proud of himself, but he Was this a mastermind that he knows something that we don't know? His behavior is becoming more and more bizarre. He was getting more extreme. But I never thought he could be serious about what he was saying. I remember thinking, I'm just glad that we're pulling up to the parking lot so that we could take a break. And I could forget that he's saying such weird things. My dad said, I want you to meet someone. I want you to meet my girlfriend, Julie. She seemed to actually be able to hold her own around my dad. Like, my dad would try to dominate her, and she seemed to be more strong than any of the other girlfriends that my dad dated.
Get me a beer.
You want me to get up and go get you a beer? Are your legs broken?
No.
Get your own damn beer.
She had this aura of confidence, and nothing really bothered her. And I thought that's a trait you need to be around my dad.
Wow. Seriously?
Oh.
You know that?
Yeah.
What?
I thought maybe she could actually tame him and put him in his place. If that would happen, then I could actually have a relationship with my dad. Never crossed my mind that the reports that were on the news were that close to home.
There's an incident involving your father.
I felt like my whole world was coming to an end. This was beyond what I would have ever thought. The last time I ever saw my dad, I was a freshman in high school, and he said, let's go downtown to a diner and I'll take you to breakfast there. I remember feeling kind of uneasy about the whole situation. I was really done with having to endure him harassing people, but I decided to go ahead, and we both awkwardly tried to talk to each other.
I've been wanting to discuss something.
What is it?
And that's when he said, you know, Missy, not everything is what it appears to be.
Should I be worried?
He said, there's something I need to tell you, but you'll tell the authorities.
I need to know that you're not going to...
To what?
I've never seen him look so serious and so grim, too. Like, he looked like the world was closing in on him.
What's going on?
Never mind. I can't do this.
Say it.
He said, no, you'll tell the cops. I can't. I really can't tell you. And I was taken back. So I got up from the booth and I went to the bathroom. I actually remember talking to myself in the stall, like, Melissa, like, you're overreacting. It's all right. It's not a big deal. And I finally collected myself and went back to the table. And that's when the conversation was done. That breakfast just put me over the edge. I was done with his paranoid and creepy behavior. I was done spending time with him. It's just too much for me. It was emotionally draining. I never felt good about our visits. So I would either tell him I don't want to see him anymore or just ignore his phone calls and invitations from that point forward. We just don't get serial killers in Spokane. Like, we don't have major crime normally.
Multiple homicides and then multiple police departments are working together to try and see if there's any apparent overlap in the nature of these killings, and ultimately
But there was a serial killer that was in the area, and we knew that some victims lived in our town and were missing. I was pretty nervous that there could be a serial killer because I walked to school and I was alone often.
So far, they have linked 3 murders. However, police are not willing to release details of the case due to the nature of the...
But it happened in Portland, it happened in Wyoming, it happened in Florida. It wasn't just in our area. So I thought it was unlikely that it could be anybody close to me. It never crossed my mind that the reports that were on the news were that close to home.
There are striking similarities between the homicides, and they are in the process of consulting with the FBI.
The last time I saw him was in September. And then Christmas came around. I didn't hear from him. And then it was several more months. It was spring. And I kept thinking, like, this is really odd that I've not heard from my dad in many months. This is abnormal for even him. And one day I come home after school.
Melissa?
And I hear my mom calling my name to have a family meeting.
Sit down. We need to talk.
At first, I thought how odd it was that my mom would call all of us for a family meeting because we don't have family meetings. We weren't that type of family.
What's going on? There's an incident involving your father.
What happened?
Is he okay? He's been,
And she said, Dad's in prison. And that kind of had to sink in for a second. And then my brother said, for what? And she said, for murder. There was no more elaboration on who or what the details were. My mind tried to process what type of murder did my dad commit? Did he get in a fight because he was 6'6"? He was a large man. He could easily have accidentally killed another man. And then I remembered the cats. And that's when I pictured him strangling a woman. And then it just seems like that was probably right. I felt like my whole world was coming to an end. Like this was beyond what I would have ever thought. I knew I needed to get some answers, and so I went to the town's library and I started pulling newspaper articles. I wasn't expecting to see what I saw. He was in there for the murder of Julie Winningham, my dad's fiance. I actually had to read it twice. Like, it was somebody I met and someone so innocent. This wasn't just an accident, some bar fight. This was someone he was really close to. He was actually going to marry her. The hardest part was reading how Julie Winningham died. That she pleaded with my dad as he was strangling her, that even when she was pleading to his humanity, that it wasn't there. This is Julie Winningham. And this is the face that haunts me. Her eyes look very trusting. She probably doesn't know that the man she loves is who he is. I'm sure she didn't see any signs that my dad was capable of what he was capable. It's hard to look at her face. I don't want to look at it anymore.
You really did this?
I can tell you there's all sorts of reasons.
He was actually confessing more and more. I thought my dad would save me from anything. I thought that my dad would protect me from anything. I thought my dad loved me. I didn't know this person. It was the definition of living a double life. He was a family man. He was charming. He was good looking. But he was something else inside. He was actually confessing more and more. So now it was not only Julie Winningham that I read, but it was potentially more. It was the murder of his fiance and Tonya Bennett and Angela Subbreeze, and all these names just started coming up. And I had never heard of those names before. These were strangers. My dad was labeled the happy-faced serial killer. He would write letters to the media, and he would give clues about different murder cases. And he would sign the end of the anonymous letter with the smiley face. I had heard that there was the happy-faced serial killer, but I had no idea that it could be my dad. I had no idea. This is Tonya Bennett, my dad's first victim that he said looked like my mom. My mom had the same warm smile. It was her blood that I saw on the ceiling. He beat her to the point where you couldn't recognize her. The fact that I slept in the same house that he killed a woman in. The car that he drove me in, he used to dispose a body of. The truck that I was in, he killed his fiance in. It's like everything that was normal was now tainted. My whole life and existence with my dad was a lie. It made me question everything he said, everything he did. My mind was racing, trying to come up with some conclusion as to why my dad did what he did. The visit didn't go as I thought it would go. In my head, I thought that I would see him and that all my questions would be answered and that it wouldn't be a scary experience. But I wasn't prepared for the real visit that I had. And he sat right in front of me and I thought he looked exactly like a criminal. And the first thing he said to me is, "Missy, my best advice is that you change your last name." And that's when I knew he was guilty. You really did all this. And then he looked straight at me and said, "You probably want to know why, don't you?"
I can tell you there's all sorts of reasons.
I felt that I was naive and stupid and not equipped, for the situation. And I was too much of a coward. I said no. My dad was given a life sentence for the murder of Tonya Bennett.
Keith Hunter Jesperson committed the murder of Tonya Bennett. He led authorities to the crime scene where they found her purse.
And then also the murder of Julie Winningham.
And to accept responsibility for the death of Julianne Winningham, I am pleading guilty.
From there, it just compounded. It was another life sentence and then another life sentence. My father claims that he killed over 163 women, but we know of at least 8 women that he's killed. There's potential that there's more women. We just don't know at this point. These are 2 women that are unidentified, and I know there are more. I wonder if my dad gave the description for this drawing. These 2 women, their family members don't have any answers. And yet this is 2, and there may be many, many more women that are missing that my dad had a hand in their the demise. It just makes me wonder, how far back did my dad start killing women? My dad went to bed next to my mom, next to my siblings, with this knowledge that he took their lives and slept fine. About 15 years after the arrest of my dad and the conviction of my dad, I had a visit with my grandfather. And I started asking questions about my dad. Sometimes I wonder what he was thinking. And he took a pause and he looked out away from me and he said, I have something I should tell you.
I need to get this off my chest. I spoke to Keith.
And he said, I went and visited him in prison and he said something to me that I'll never forget. What is it? And he said, your dad had told me that he had thoughts of killing you and your siblings.
But something kept him from it.
I wasn't prepared to hear that at all. My mind went to the time where my dad was talking to me in the diner and telling me he had something to tell me, and I was alone with him.
I need to know you're not going to...
To what?
I don't know how that would have played out if he would have told me. I think I might have been a victim.
I'm sorry.
I had a hard time wrapping my head around the man I knew, the father, the loving father that I saw and experienced, to the cold-blooded killer that he's known to be. So I saw them as two split people, that one was my father and one was a stranger. But after my grandfather told me this, I now saw it as one person. This was the version I saw of him. The real Keith Jesperson is a heartless killer. His darkness outweighs anything light in him.
September 1983. I was in second grade, Friday nights. It was the family movie nights. We were up a little bit later than normal. And I remember my stepmother, Mary, stating that she had to run to the restaurant. I remember pulling the curtain out just a little bit, and I just kind of watched her drive off. I don't ever remember doing that before. I have, over the years, thought about Mary and David and Opie and Monty and Joy out there in that oil field. And there were just so many unanswered questions of who, why, what kind of monster it could have been to do that to them. Kilgore was an oil town, a very nice area, wholesome families. Everybody kind of knew everybody. And football was a big thing. Being in Texas, at the Kilworth KFC restaurant. Our biggest day of the week would be Friday, because before the football games, mothers didn't have time to cook. The whole town was busy, busy, busy. Everybody was just gearing up for the big football night. My shift was from 11 to 7. I left and went home. It's shortly before 12 a.m. KFC manager, Leanne Raspberry, is unwinding after her shift when the phone rings. It was from the Kilgore Police Department that they were at the restaurant, and that something wasn't right. When she arrives at the restaurant, police tell Leanne what happened after she'd punched out. Assistant manager Mary Tyler was about to close up for the night when her daughter, Kim Miller, came by for a visit. When Kim got there, she had noticed the front door being locked, so she went around the back. The back door was wide open. Then, nobody's there. My stepsister found the place disarray. She immediately called my dad to see if Mary was at home. At the end of every shift, Mary would deposit the day's cash in the bank. Dad told her Mary wasn't there. And then they both were calling hospitals, emergency rooms to make sure there was no accident. Once they found out Mary wasn't in the ER, that's when he said, "Okay, let's call the police department." Mary was a dear friend. We shared a lot of time together at work, and we talked a lot on the phone. She was a single mom for several years, and she would talk about working extra hours just to have enough to maybe buy something one of the kids needed for school. And she struggled. She struggled, I'm sure, because I was a single mom myself. And then Mary married Billy Tyler. And it was so sweet to see them together, because she was about 5 feet 2 inches, and he was probably 6 feet 2 inches. She just loved it when he came in the restaurant, and he was pretty crazy about her. I don't know what drew my dad and Mary together, but he says that she was the love of his life. We were from divorced parents. Didn't have a mom around for a while. And then Mary come in the picture, and it was a family. She already had 3 kids of her own, Tony, him, and Bubba, but had no problem taking in 2 more. Mary was as proud of them as if they were her biological children. She would just brag on them and say what neat things they had done. And her son was probably 7 at the time. He was handicapped. He had some disabilities. And oh, Lord, she loved that boy. And he loved his mother, even though she'd work a day shift at the Kentucky Fried Chicken. She'd come home and she'd cook a meal, and we talked during dinner. She took us underneath her wings, just like we were her own. We were hers. An officer walked with me through the restaurant. I guess, to get a picture of what may have happened. All the money had been taken out of the registers, and there was a good bit of blood kinda spattered, and things were scattered like there had been a struggle. Well, the police were curious to know who should be there, so we went and looked at the time cards. When police checked Mary's time card, they find she hadn't punched out for the night. Neither had her coworkers, 20-year-old Joey Johnson and 39-year-old mother of 3, Opie Hughes. Their vehicles were there, but they weren't. My gut you hear people say, my heart failed. That's what it was. It was fear. Police are about to start a search for the missing employees when a young woman arrives in a panic. She says her husband, David Maxwell, is missing. David Maxwell was also an employee of the Kentucky Fried Chicken and was a frat brother with Joey Johnson. Lana informed law enforcement that David had gone up to the KFC to meet up with Joey when he got off work, along with another frat brother, Monty Landers. David and Monty had been hanging out in the restaurant waiting for Joey to get off. We found out that Monty Landers and David Maxwell were also missing. I was in disbelief. It was a void and a hollowness and a fear for their safety. We waited for them all night at the police station thinking, and they're going to get to a phone, and, they're going to be found. An employee of an oil field out in rural Rusk County, 12 or so miles from the KFC restaurant, was driving to the wells when he sees 4 people lying next to the road, and so he yells at them to get up, thinking maybe there's just been some sort of party, and these people have fallen asleep. He walks up there and realizes that they're dead. A man was in rural Rusk County checking his oil derricks. When he sees 4 people lying next to the road, he goes up to them and discovers that they are all 4 deceased. Investigators determined fairly quickly that these are the folks who match the description from the Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant in Kilgore. A couple of them were wearing uniforms, but there are only 4 of them. They were in a row from left to right. They are identified as Joey, Mary, David, and Monty. They were all lying on their stomachs with their heads on their hands. They were shot in the back of the head or in the back multiple times apiece. This was an execution. Police spread out looking for evidence. They soon find the 5th victim, Opie Hughes. She too was lying on her stomach and was shot multiple times. And the theory was that she had tried to run, and so they called upon the assistance of the Texas Rangers. They are essentially Texas version of the Bureau of Investigation. There was very little evidence at the scene. Their bodies and the bullets. And that was it. Investigators are baffled. 5 people brought to a remote oil field 12 miles from where they were abducted were lined up and murdered. It shocks even the most veteran detectives. Mass murder on that scale in '83 was just unthinkable. It was just beyond the pale of anything that they had ever envisioned. When I found out what had taken place, I don't even know how I absorbed it. It was like my whole world just fell apart. At KFC, we were kind of like family. That was our social life outside of our home. And we had watched each other's children grow up and were involved in each other's lives. And I couldn't help but feel just awful that Mary's children wouldn't ever see her again. And Opie's children. It's just hard to imagine that. I remember my dad getting a phone call, and I remember him going outside and just kind of breaking down on his truck. And then the next thing I remember is Kim, my stepsister, pulling into the driveway, and she was in hysterics. She couldn't stop her car. So I remember someone, like, kind of slipping into the driver's side window and, like, pulling the emergency brake. The investigation starts at the last place all 5 victims were seen. The KFC. Glenn Elliott is looking at things and notices a box lid with a distinctive blood spatter pattern. Blood spatter signs is just starting to take off. And he believes that it's high velocity and that somebody's been hit and that blood's moved that way and hit that box lid. And in the back room, there's a napkin. And he forms the opinion that was cast off blood, just like somebody had had a bloody nose or something. And so that did interest that ranger. But it didn't necessarily interest most officers at the time. Fingerprint was the science of the day in 1983. And so they were really going heavy with fingerprint dust and trying to lift prints from cash register, from the counter, from everywhere. Each of the 5 victims was taken to Dallas for autopsy. They were able to determine that at least 2 different weapons were used, a .38 and a .357. And there could have possibly been a third weapon because there were several different kinds of bullets. So they knew that they were looking for at least 2 shooters, possibly 3. The medical examiner begins the autopsies for all 5 victims. When they were doing Joey's autopsy, a fingernail fell out of the waistband of his jeans, and he did not have any torn fingernails, and the ranger was convinced that this must belong to the killer. And so they're immediately looking for this person who may be missing a fingernail. I think the day that it actually set in with Denise and I was the day of her funeral. Then we realized Mary is not coming home. I remember Davy's funeral carrying his casket, and there's still this disbelief that this hadn't happened. I first met David. I can't remember exactly if it was 8th or 9th grade. David was a new guy in school, and he was just a laid-back guy. He laughed a lot. David was very kind, considerate. He was married to a sweet girl and had just found out that they were pregnant and was over the moon, just living life large. And then I remember the funeral ending. It was back to this. You know, why aren't they doing something? Why hadn't there been an arrest made? The events that happened are almost like an anchor that drew me in the direction of law enforcement. I made a decision to go to the academy to become a police officer. Law enforcement were talking to all of the ne'er-do-wells in town. Jim Earl Mankins Jr. was just generally kind of known as one of the local troublemakers. His father was a former state legislator who was very well respected. Jim Earl Mankins Sr., but Jr. had problems with the law for a number of years. He was a known drug dealer. They bring Jimmy Makins Jr. in to be questioned. He willingly comes in, does a non-custodial interview, and they end up examining his hands because they already have the lead of the fingernail. And that's when they notice that the middle finger on his right hand, the fingernail was torn all the way down to the quick. The KFC restaurant reopened, and I was scared. You know, you were jumpy and nervous, and several employees quit. I would think about all of them all the time. Often. Something would trigger a memory. Sometimes somebody will say something funny that makes you think about Joey. He was a prankster, and people saying, "Oh, Joey, you know," and it was extremely hard. As loved ones say their last goodbyes, detectives get their first solid lead. A missing fingernail on the hand of 30-year-old Jim Earl Menkins, Jr. Law enforcement took a whole bunch of pictures of his finger, and then they took a clipping of that same fingernail after it had grown out. In 1983, the prevailing view in the forensic scientific community was that fingernails were distinctive, just like fingerprints. And they'd be able to look on the underside of the fingernail and see what they referred to as striations through a microscope. Investigators send the clippings to a Dallas lab, where techs can compare them to the fingernail found on Joey Johnson during his autopsy. They also dig deeper into Menkins. On the date of the murders, Jimmy Menkins Jr. just got out of jail for unlawfully having a weapon. The weapon was confiscated, and he borrowed another weapon, a .38, as I recall, from one of his friends. And there was a .38 that was believed to be one of the murder weapons. And the ballistics guys told him, "I can't say this .38 is any more the gun that killed these people than any other .38 on Earth. But, I mean, him having a .38 definitely moved him up in the category of people that law enforcement was interested in." When this all occurred, there was lots of rumors that drugs were being sold out of the drive-thru window at the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that someone at the restaurant had a drug recipe. There were rumors that hidden somewhere inside, that KFC was the recipe for high-grade methamphetamine. I had heard that Jimmy Menkins wanted the recipe, and that was why it had happened. The FBI joined into this investigation fairly early on, because there were thoughts of drug involvement. The agent who worked the case for the FBI was George Keeney. The tips and rumors about Menkins are soon backed up with physical evidence when those fingernail comparisons come in. They make a confirmation. Yes, this fingernail clipping that we've discovered matches this known individual. While investigators build their case against Menkins, a tipster offers Texas Ranger Glenn Elliott solid information that kickstarts a parallel investigation. Star Powers was her name, and on the night of the murders, Star came into the KFC just a few minutes before closing time. She saw an employee on the phone right by the counter, and she heard her say, "Somebody didn't make the deposit today. There's $2,000 in here." And Star remembered thinking to herself, "Oh, she shouldn't say that out loud." And she noticed that there were two men immediately behind her, and she thought that they heard the same thing. There's an unusually large amount of money in the restaurant, and it certainly would have looked like a quick, easy score. Maybe this is a target of opportunity. What Star Powers told Ranger Elliott was certainly consistent with there being an armed robbery that was maybe just a crime of opportunity. Powers describes the men she'd seen at the KFC, and the Rangers reach out to local police jurisdictions, hoping one of them can identify these men. The then Smith County Sheriff had a lot of confidential informants in the Smith County Jail, and he's the one that developed the lead and took it to the Rangers and said, "You need to look at these guys, Darnell Hartsfield and Romeo Pinkerton." There was a warrant out for Darnell Hartsfield for committing an armed robbery in Tyler 3 days after the KFC. The grocery store robbery happened only 30 miles from Kilgore and had striking similarities to the KFC crime. It was close to closing time. They had weapons. They got all of the money out of the register. All their petty cash money. Everywhere they could get money. And they made the women stay laying with their heads on their hands until they got away. The Texas Rangers put together a wanted poster that includes Romeo Pinkerton and Darnell Hartsfield. Wanted for connection and questioning with the Kentucky Fried Chicken robbery. There were obviously efforts to question them, but at the time, Hartsfield had not been apprehended. Investigators tracked down his presumed accomplice, Romeo Pinkerton. Romeo Pinkerton's alibi is that he was still in prison at the time that it happened, so he couldn't have done it. He was only released from prison a couple of days after the KFC robbery and murders. After searching for several weeks, Tyler police find Darnell Hartsfield and charge him with the grocery store robbery. Ranger Dowell interviewed Darnell Hartsfield after he was apprehended. Though the two crimes are similar, Hartsfield insists he had nothing to do with the KFC murders. He polygraphed him as they did with, gosh, almost 100 people probably, and then he passed the polygraph. And so he was done at that point. So they quit studying him. That just became a dead end. All of law enforcement continued to believe that if they kept working it from the drug angle, eventually things would break open more. There has to be some sort of justification to take the lives of 5 people. To say that it was a robbery over such a small amount of money seems so horribly mean. They got a ton of tips. Things developed from a bunch of different sources, and they all circulated around the idea that it was Mankins. They did all kinds of things to try to develop additional evidence. I mean, there was a period of time Mankins was in prison subsequent to the crime, and they wired a cellmate up to get recordings, and they never got anything meaningful. The fingernail linking Mankins to the torn nail found on Joey Johnson is the only real evidence police have against Mankins. And it's not enough to bring a murder charge. The case goes as cold as the barren ground where these 5 victims were discovered. It was agonizing. Nothing was being accomplished. And Denise and I did what we could to push the issue. Call and push and write letters and say, hey, something's got to be done. These people were still out there. It could happen to someone else's family. On the 10-year anniversary of the crime, there was a lot of press, a lot of media, and the victims' family members went to the local district attorney and asked him to call in the Attorney General's office for assistance. I called every week. I called twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and I'm sure they got tired of me calling. Kyle Freeman felt a commitment to these families to get the case solved. Prosecutor Kyle Freeman asked Texas Attorney General Dan Morales for help. Dan Morales makes a commitment to solving the case, and he does devote a lot of resources. In the 10 years since the murders, there have been major advances in forensic science. Investigators will use those advances to take a new look at the fingernail found on Joey Johnson. When you're dealing with evidence, it has to be conclusive. It has to be tangible. And DNA, at that time, was becoming such a big word. The fingernail was submitted to a lab in Dallas for DNA testing that was state-of-the-art at the time, and they did get one result that was consistent with Mankins. It's enough for the DA to convene a grand jury to weigh the evidence against Mankins. They were attempting to reach an indictment for General Mankins, and I was called as a witness. And there was a sense of relief that finally something finally could, because there had been nothing. Prosecutors take 7 weeks to present their evidence to the grand jury, and finally, this cold case thaws out. Mankins was indicted and booked for the 5 killings as investigators gathered enough evidence for prosecutors to convince a jury he did it. We were finally getting somewhere. It was like it was a beginning to an end. Mankins waits in jail for his day in court. Prosecutors hope to strengthen their case against him with ironclad forensic evidence. Eventually, the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology was brought in. They were the top of the line. State-of-the-art lab in the world. We were scheduled for a conference call with the lab. And we were all around this big table, and the DNA analyst got on the phone. And she said, "Okay, I have results." And we were all looking at the speakerphone. And she said, "Yeah, it's not his nail." You could just hear a pin drop. All of a sudden, the charges are dropped. I remember her just being angry. You kind of lay your hope on something, and you can begin some process of getting some healing of families moving forward. After 6 months behind bars, Jim Earl Mankins Jr. is set free. Everybody was thinking that because of who his dad was, the state representative for the state of Texas, that his daddy was helping him out of it. His dad was keeping stuff hush-hush. How you going to cover something up with FBI agents, with Texas Rangers, with highway patrolmen? Then you got county law. Then you got... that's a lot of cover. There's no way. The case against Mankins was based mostly on that fingernail. And without it, the case goes cold once more. We just went back to pushing again, calling, writing letters, and doing what we could. This day and age is different from back then. Is there anything that y'all could do different now, that y'all could have done? When I was elected sheriff in 1996, I would think about it off and on. I guess I accepted that it was a cold case. That day I met George Kenya, who was a retired FBI agent. That completely changed. Matter of fact, everything changed. I would think about David any time I drove through Kilgore. Every time I saw that KFC, it just brought back thoughts. It just, over and over and over again. I just felt a desire for justice. Somebody did this. Somebody needs to pay up. Stroud gives the case another jump start. He brings in retired FBI agent George Keeney, who'd worked the case back in the 1980s. We agreed the best thing to do was just to take fresh eyes and begin looking at everything again. Retired FBI agent George Keeney applies new forensic techniques to old evidence from the restaurant. He tests a blood-stained napkin and a cashier's tape box, looking for a link to the killer or killers. The blood on the cardboard box that had held the cash register tape came back to be consistent with a Darnell Hartsfield, and the blood on the napkin with Romeo Pinkerton. Both men were suspects back in 1983, but were cleared. Romeo Pinkerton claimed that he was only released from prison a couple of days after the KFC robbery and murders, and his claim was based on a hurricane, that it was not until after this hurricane had gone through. So it made sense. In hindsight, you weren't able to check things as quickly back then because there wasn't the internet. They were able to check the records, and he was actually released from prison a couple of days before the KFC murders. We had a meeting with all 5 families shortly after the hits came in, and once I pulled the wanted poster out and showed them, several members of the family started to cry because you saw the realization that these guys had been there all along, and we just didn't have the science to prove it. Looking for more, investigators take a closer look at the victim's clothing, and that's when they use the black light, and they're able to determine that there appears to be semen in Opie Hughes' pants. That was a huge epiphany for us. Law enforcement had early on explained away her being away from everybody else by saying, well, she's the one who tried to run. Finding out that Opie had been raped was like getting hit by a train. I never saw that coming, and my heart just broke. Opie was the kindest, gentlest person. She wouldn't hurt a flea. And it's almost like they took the most innocent. I couldn't even process it for a long time. We submitted cuttings from her pants to the lab for DNA analysis. The lab called and said the DNA result doesn't match Pinkerton or Hartsfield. We just all looked at each other and just thought, oh God, here we go again. There's a third person that's out there. We had a DNA profile. Surely we're going to be able to find this individual. The DNA doesn't match anyone involved, including Opie's husband or their original suspect, Jim Earl Mankins Jr. There was no evidence to tie Mankins to it. For so many years, they believed the case is solved. This person did it. Well, they didn't do it. The striation science really didn't hold up in hindsight, and I submit that science has proven incorrect and, again, took this case down the wrong path for many, many years. Unfortunately, today, a Ross County grand jury handed down 10 capital murder indictments, 5 each against Darnell Hartsfield and Romeo Pinkerton, to avoid the death penalty. Pinkerton takes a deal and pleads guilty to 5 counts of murder. The judge hands down 5 life sentences. Hartsfield decides to take his chances with the jury. During his trial, prosecutors described what they believe happened on that horrible night, back in 1983. I believe they were there as customers in the restaurant, and they overhear that the deposit hadn't been made. They go out to make a quick, easy score by coming back when the restaurant closes up. And Joey Johnson, the cook that night, is taking out the trash in the back and forcing them back into the restaurant to let them in. And somehow, inside, there ends up being a struggle in the restaurant. And that's where it was a robbery that just went bad. And I think that felt like they had no choice but to eliminate the victims. Darnell Hartsfield was convicted of all 5 capital murders. and he was sentenced to life in prison for capital murder. Efforts to identify the third person are ongoing. So many people over the years have made a commitment that until they leave this world, they will keep searching for the truth and for that final person. Yes, they've gotten 2. Okay, but there's still a part of us that's not able to move forward because there's no closure. It hurts. It's not one each individual victim. I think of him sort of like a family. They each had each other that night. And so, when the Hughes don't have that closure, we don't have that closure. But it's coming. It may not be today. It may not even be tomorrow or a week from now. But it's coming.